Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm so glad to be here. And today we're going to be speaking with somebody who is a fierce advocate and an incredible person who has built her family through third party reproduction. And let me just see if I could get her on. I know that she's here. And then we could get started. There she is. Okay. And as soon as she comes on, we'll be able to get started. There she is. How are you today?
I am good.
Oh,
All
good. I'm so glad to see you.
right. Yeah, let me put on my earpiece so that there's
Okay,
less.
great, great. And happy to talk to you.
Same
One of my
here.
fellow Resolve advocates for
Yes.
all these
It's
different
that,
causes.
yes, it's that exciting. It's really exciting time of the year for us to resolve.
I know, and then we have the opportunity to talk, and there's so many things that we're doing that, we'd like to be able to work together on. So this is wonderful.
Yeah.
Where should we start? My goodness, I'm not even sure. Didn't you, do you want to just, maybe we could just start with, I don't know, telling a little bit about yourself for people who don't know you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hello, everybody. I see people are joining, which is nice.
Yes.
So I go by the Instagram name Ankrah, but Laurie has put my other name out there, which is Jane. And I am
I'm
a
sorry. I wasn't sure which name to put out there.
Oh no, not at all. It's not a secret, to be honest. It's
I
not
put both there. I
law.
put Jane and you.
It's not a. And I am an advocate as a result of my journey. To be specific, donor conceived. Um, I'm a donor conceived recipient parent, so an RP, and also through surrogacy. So when you talk about third party, I am that one that has used multiple third parties.
Right?
Um, and just through our experiences in going through fertility and stuff, and now that we are here with our children, we just realized we didn't have a lot of information at all during our fertility treatment. And so now that we are learning a lot, I'm sharing at the same time as I'm learning with the public and paying more attention to things than we would have in the past. So
Yeah, it's it's so good that you're there and that you're doing that, and other RP recipient parents are doing that or trying to, and you lending your voice to it is huge. We were talking actually about some of the work I'm doing on third party reproduction, and just
yeah.
something that sounds so simple but is so profound and so important and impactful, which is having the medical community start to talk about
Like,
asking people if they're born through third party reproduction, and get that medical information there
yeah,
and get those doctors comfortable talking
yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And you started your own advocacy right in your own circle with that, which am so like,
Yeah.
fun.
I'm, again, just thinking about my girls, the biggest thing is I would hate for anybody to see our children as second class human beings, which
Oh
is,
no, right?
which is,
When you say that, that would be just horrible.
yeah, which is kind of how I feel as a recipient parent. Um, that society probably will perceive them as that way because, first of all, for recipient parents, we go through the shame. There's the stigma, right? And so people feel ashamed and don't talk about it. And then that's how the whole secrecy thing starts, right? It's as if you've done something wrong that you really didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing you did wrong to bring this on yourself. But then,
Well, no, this is a medical diagnosis, and there's no shame in having a medical diagnosis.
exactly. But again,
It's something
society,
that we think is a given right
you
when we're
think
born, that we should all be able to reproduce. But that's not always what happens medically to our bodies.
absolutely. And so for me, going through that, and, I had to overcome that part. Yes, understanding was a key part of it, right? To know that it was an illness and I did wrong. And so now I'm over that part. But then it's still a very nuanced, it's still something really new to a lot of people. They are not aware. And I mean, you get a lot of, you know, caring, caring feedback like, well, they're still your children. And yeah, you still love them and they're children. And it's like, so you know, people are not really sure where they are with all of these things. And again, culturally, you know, we know the family structure as a mom, the dad is one mom, one dad, or now we've expanded beyond that, and then our children. And here we are, we have DCPs that don't fit that. And I feel like, to me, even at least in my personal experiences, it's looked upon differently, as they're not the same as the ones that have the mom and the dad. And so this is why I'm speaking out anywhere I can advocate for my children. I take the opportunity to do that, because I do not want anybody to ever feel, any DCP person to ever feel like almost second class human. And and that's just me feeling that way for my children, just based on,
Yeah, it kind of breaks my heart every time you said that, and you just said that about 2 or 3
yeah.
times. And it tugs my heart when you say that, because um, part of this, I think a big part of it, is just having people understand
Mm-hmm,
and be comfortable with,
mm-hmm,
on so many different levels. First, if we talk about the parent being comfortable with how they're going about their journey to have their child and build their family, right?
mm-hmm,
And of course there's a grief that goes along with not using your DNA if that's something that you anticipated you were going to do.
right.
But along with that, we can also have excitement and joy about
Mm-hmm,
the fact that we will have a family, and we are caring for this new member of our family from conception on. The other piece of that, though, that you're talking about, which is the family structure and the culture, and the shame or the not knowing, or how do you make it so that it's comfortable for people to begin to discuss it,
mm-hmm,
that I think takes courage
yeah.
to be some of the first people out there to do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. Like I said, I just really wish I could take a magic wand and wave it, and all these things would go away and normal. And since that's not how things work, I feel the least I could do is start, first of all, advocating for my own in any space I find myself. And
Yeah.
I want them to be comfortable with who they are, to be confident in themselves with you know, who they are, how they came to being, and to have that thought that they are just like anybody else and should not be treated any less because of how they came to be. And so
How do you do that? How do you instill that? And just in terms of waving your magic wand, you're waving this wand, whether it's magic or not, because from conversations we've had, wherever you go and it's appropriate, you say to people, my children were conceived this way, and I would like you to acknowledge it
yeah,
as something that is just another way for a child to be conceived.
yeah,
There's nothing wrong with it. It's
yeah.
just another path to parenthood.
Absolutely. So the one thing that really shocks me is the medical community itself, in which they helped us, you know, have these beautiful girls that, like I said, again, Laurie has kind of highlighted, like, would we change anything about this? Absolutely not. If we woke up and this was what our step that we had to take to have our children, we would do it again in a heartbeat. I mean, we are trying for a third child, for crying out loud.
Oh my goodness. Don't
So,
fuck with that.
you know, thank you. So this should tell you that this is a very fun and joyous journey to be on, and to have these children are such a joy. Um, but like, back to what we were saying, how do I do that? The medical community is one where I was thinking about, it's like, even the fertility clinics, on the questionnaire, there is no such thing as, you know, when they're asking about, you know, your genetics, genes, like mom and dad, hereditary traits and stuff, there's no donor. But yet
Don't even get me started. Can you believe that the fertility
the
clinics and the
I,
OBGYNs don't even ask that question? But
right,
people who are delivering the babies and the pediatricians, nobody
no,
asks the
it's
question.
just mind-boggling. And so,
But they're starting to. We are
yeah,
making a dent.
it's just
Yeah.
really mind-boggling. But my daughters, I take them to their doctors every time. And so I finally, the last appointment I went, I sat them down and I said, listen, the children are donor conceived, and I really would like us to change this form. And the doctor looked at me like, huh? And I was like, yeah. And I know you don't have the power to make the decision. I need you to translate this higher up. And so then a nurse actually came into the room, and she was like, yeah, we do have a lot of people that are going through this where it's no longer the traditional form, it's different paths. So I was like, so why haven't we changed this? And so I told the doctor that I am what we have on our donor. I was going to send it to them for them to make sure that it is electronically loaded in my children's file. And I do want them to start changing the wording, and I want that donor medical record, hoping it's as accurate as it can be, to be replaced with biological father.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is something that I told them I'm going to follow up with them on and keep on it, because I think change has to happen. I do not want my children or other children that are going through this down the line when they are of age to be filling out the forms and be triggered by all these things. I put myself in their situation, and I wouldn't want to go through that.
Right.
Not want any DCP to have to experience that, because I just feel like just the mere fact that you have to even start scratching your head and thinking through, now who do I put down? And and if I wanted to put
It's,
the, but I don't
and
even,
even that, it's not fair to put the onus on the
it,
patient when they're accessing care. It's really not. It's
it,
really the responsibility of an accurate medical history.
it,
And what's so important, I believe, is that, and the reason why the words that I'm suggesting are donor or adoption is because they're short. And
right,
what that would do is then it would trigger a host of other questions. So
right,
that would just be the first on that drop down or on that check off, because it's short and there's no reason why they can't include that, I would hope. And then from that, go on to others, but go on to other screens where they could more accurately and completely get that information if the person has it.
yeah, yeah,
And if
that is
they don't have it, then they know they're starting from scratch,
right.
as opposed to, there's so many people have been so wonderful in filling out the survey that I've put forth and
Mhm.
in talking about when doctors or nurses or anybody goes down the path of diagnosing them based on the parent who raised them
Mhm.
as
It-
opposed to DNA, and that
yeah,
doesn't do any good.
yeah, that's not right.
it
Yeah,
it creates problems. And I know I just feel very strongly about it, so I can go on. But we do at this point have the support of over 20 different entities behind this. Some of them are large, and so
correct.
I'm very happy to say that. And with your help,
Yeah.
talking to your doctor and your advocacy, that's only going to make it better.
Yes, yes. I feel very strong about it. And thank you, Laurie, for what you're doing in the community. Really, really appreciate,
Thank you. And I
you
love
know.
the school system and everything.
Yeah. Yes,
How
we
do
are.
you do this? How do you go about impact? How did you get the strength to start to do this, to start to empower yourself for the conversation?
I think again, just again, in the back of my mind, the image I have is my child is not perceived in the same light as my neighbor's child, because it didn't come through the path that we have, society has set as standard.
Mhm.
And I just couldn't comprehend that. I just couldn't sit with that, knowing that my children and other children be will be judged. I mean, we even have recipient parents that will not come out because of the backlash, right? That we're afraid society is going. And why? Why? What crime did we commit? What?
Right.
And so I just could not take it. I want, when I'm gone, I want my children, I hope that whenever I'm gone, that they will continue this advocacy work to speak for the vulnerable, because as somebody has to do it. And I'm hoping that they will learn from mom. But
And
so,
hopefully, this will not be the community they're advocating for at this point. Hopefully,
right,
we'll be
no,
trying to do something new because
Absolutely.
people no
Yes.
longer need that
A-
advocacy.
Absolutely. But so I think for me, what was driving it was, again, the thought in my head of how, again, through conversations I've had with people, of how the children and the comments that ignorant, but they think it's, they're being helpful comments that come out, and made me realize it has to change. So like with my daughter's preschool, I had a one-on-one meeting with the director, and I said, I need you to know that she is donor conceived, and I'm bringing it up because whenever she mentions donor seed or something to that effect, that's what she's talking about. And I would, again, for you guys to encourage her. Actually, I started with her teacher, her immediate class teacher, and I, called her and we talked about it, and she was very appreciative of the fact that I did that. And then I went to the director because I know the director has more power, and I told them that whilst we cannot discriminate in hiring, if it ever came up they were interviewing a teacher and it ever came up that she mentioned that she was donor conceived or adopted or something, I would like them to consider hiring her. Not just because of that, but of course, based on her experience, her expertise as well. But if she was on the same what is it, pendulum or something with everybody else, and she mentioned that fact, I would like you to consider hiring her, because I want that teacher, that my daughter, as she gets older, because this is not just a preschool, this is an elementary school, and I told them, I said, we're here to stay as a family as long as you guys will support us. And I said, so I would like, when she's able to express herself more, and maybe her teacher could not understand because her teacher has not gone through it, I would like her to have somebody that she could relate to, that she can go to, feel comfortable to go to. If it's a bad day for her, because they do have bad days, they have good days, whatever it is, I want my children to be able to go to somebody as a resource person in the school, to be able to do that. So, and it turned out also that the
How
school,
old are they now? How old are the children now?
they're three. Three.
Oh,
I have a 3 and a 1 year old.
they're small. But I don't know if the school system could do it. It would be wonderful if they could. But there is such a strong and growing community of donor conceived people.
Yeah,
And the clinics in your area, I would think, if we could get them to start to get these parents together so
yeah,
that the parents could meet and kind of have their children grow up together and
yeah,
support each other. I mean,
yeah.
it's that would help them to feel so accepted and included. I I
Absolutely.
do believe a lot of it also comes from the home and comes
Yeah.
from how they're told their story.
Yes. Yeah. So my daughter, well, the 1 year old can't talk, but the 3 year old can talk, and definitely knows how she came into being, and is very comfortable talking about it whenever she feels like it. And also, like you were saying with the school thing, another reason why I shared is because I want to create a community in the school environment, even if they don't have a teacher there at the moment, but we have parents to
It's
support each other.
fabulous. Oh my God, what a wonderful idea.
And so in talking about it, the director mentioned of another parent, which I reached out to, and they were like, they actually shared with me and they're happy for you to for me to share. So do you mind? And I was like, absolutely. So I did reach out to the other parents and I said, we are on the same boat, and I want us to support each other, because there
Oh,
are more that, if they're not already there, there are more that are going to be coming to the school that are in the same position as us, and we want our children to be very comfortable in that environment. It's a great school to begin with. It's a private school, by the way, so that's kind of a bit of a, but it's a great school to
maybe
begin
they could
with.
even start teaching this as part of the curriculum
Absolutely.
about different ways to have a baby.
Yeah, I mean,
And
my daughter kind of knows always the way to have babies. She talks about it all the time. Lately, she's like, I want a baby in my belly, because she figured
uh-huh,
we put it in her belly, in mommy's belly, and so she has the basic child lingo to go
that's
with.
wonderful.
But
But
yeah,
this should be, I think, part of the curriculum in schools.
It should.
But now I know that there is this one woman, but she's in Europe, who is donor conceived, and she gives lectures in school systems. And there is an organization in New York as well who gives lectures in school systems about donor conception.
That's
And
great.
they teach children, they teach adults.
That's great.
So, I have total faith in you to talk to those principals and people.
Oh yeah, I'm going to talk their ears off till we do something, because it's not just me, it's our tongue. It's just people are not comfortable speaking out about it yet. But the more we do, the more people will come out. And again, it's not about us. For me, it's not about me and how I feel. My husband and I had to put away our discomfort with the subject matter, because we realized it's about our choice. And they didn't make this choice to be here. I'm not trying to make any parent feel bad or anything at all, but the bottom line is they didn't choose to be here. We made that conscious decision to go hunt for them, literally, because you couldn't make them in the bedroom like most people. We actually had to go out of our way to go find them. So it's our job to protect them as much as we can with the resources we have. And that's where I'm coming from. With all of this. So.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah.
And to let them know that, their story and their heritage. And how do you help, though, because you mentioned this before, how do you help communities feel this way? I was speaking to somebody this morning who was religious community, and she said, and I thought it was such a wonderful way of putting things, she said, God gave us the skill to do this. And so it's another path to having a child.
Yes.
And there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah.
And I've had people say that to me from multiple religions, not just one.
That's good. That's really good. And it's true. It is true. If God did not want this to happen, he would not have allowed it to happen. I believe that with all my heart and soul. So what I did with our church, and my disclaimer out there to everybody when I talk to people about this is, it's okay. We don't have to agree
right.
on the same thing, but I need you to be respectful of my wishes as well as I'll respect yours, but we don't necessarily have to agree. And for my children, to protect them too, is anybody that cannot accept us with this path that we had to be on, not by choice, but by circumstances, and you cannot accept us because we didn't come the way you think we should have, we don't have to be together. We don't have to continue have a friendship per se. I don't hate you or anything. I still love you and care for you, but I don't have to entertain. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't have to necessarily have you as my BFF, because
you don't have to, people don't have to agree about things in life, but they also don't have to make each other feel badly about choices that are made. And that's kind of what I hear you saying right now.
Right. And so if we don't agree and you cannot accept it, for me, it's an indication that it's me and my family walk away, not out of hate or anything, but just to walk.
And we should be able to agree to disagree.
Right.
And in this case, I think, there has to be also a respect for where somebody is at in the process and in their journey.
Right.
And so maybe somebody who reaches out to you, that's their first step in reaching out to anyone. And that's a huge step the first time you reach out to someone. And so maybe they're not ready to reach out to a community at large or go on an Instagram Live, but maybe they're ready to tell the teacher.
Right.
And maybe they're ready to tell their siblings.
Right.
Or other people in the life. And all of these steps are so important.
Yeah.
And we just want the options open. We want options open, and we want the word out there that everybody's conceived the same way, right?
Yeah.
Egg, sperm, and uterus. Everybody is exactly the same way.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'll talk about the church thing a little bit, back about the faith. So what I did with mine was, after we went through it, then I went to my church and I said, this is how our children were conceived. And again, I was ready to walk away if they were not going to be accepting of us because it doesn't fit, whatever. But it was quite amazing that they were
I
like,
think it's amazing. I can't wait for you to tell
come
people.
on in, come on in. Yeah, we love to hear more about it. And my husband and I looked at each other like, wow, okay, that's interesting. And that's a first. And so they actually asked us to run a seminar to
Uh-huh.
talk about our journey and
Right.
also just raise more awareness about the different paths to parenthood. We talked about adoption, just the different paths of parenthood. So it was actually really a good session. I apologize for my dog. It was actually a good session for them to engage us and also to raise more awareness within the church again, and also to let the church know that this is of God. If you did not want this, would not have allowed it to happen. And so I, walk around there probably in church that, yes, I am that mom that has donor conceived children, and we're very okay with it. And if that's your path, you should be okay with it too. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with you.
What a wonderful church you go to.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. Well, I think that you shared so much for people to start to think about and realize that, it starts with just being able to talk about it in your own
Yeah,
circle, to be comfortable with it,
yeah,
understand that it's a diagnosis.
yeah,
It's not that there's anything wrong or anything, you know, unusual. The
yeah.
unusual piece is that you have a medical condition
It is.
and you're young for a medical condition. Let's
Yeah.
face it. And so I was reading something today about, I always like to say there's a power in a plan,
Mhm,
that there's a power to having a plan. And
mhm.
they were talking about dreams, and dreams are wonderful, but we want to associate that plan with the dream that have
Yes.
come to fruition. And you
Yeah.
certainly have done that. And now, with the advocacy, you're doing it again. And so
Yes. Yes.
it's really great. Well,
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to encourage anyone out there, and we've learned for those of us that are in the DCP, donor conceived community, that, just start small in your own home, right? The more you practice,
yeah,
the more you get better at it, at sharing. And, everybody's timeline is different. So it's okay if, you're not ready to share today. It's okay. There's time for everything. But
yeah,
I think for me, it was the what provoked me was just the thought and the perception I was getting from out there. And I just couldn't live with myself not doing something about it. So we all need that one thing that will push you. And for me, it was that, right? So
yeah,
whatever it is that will push you maybe to do more, because at the end of it, it's not about us. It's about the children that we brought into this world, that they deserve to get the best that we could ever give them in whichever form. So that's our job as parents.
yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so
Thank,
much. And I think so many people would agree with you. And then
thank you.
I have to, of course, mention that if anybody wants to support the third party initiative of changing the medical record to include donor and adoption, please, if you like, go to my website or
Yeah,
go to bio and
yeah,
fill out the survey, fill out the petition, send a letter out, call us,
yeah.
DM me, say you want to get involved, or they could DM you, say they want to get involved. We're all on the same team here. We all just want to make this happen.
Yes, yes. And I have done that, Laurie. I've done that,
And
And
yeah,
one person nowadays, I'm also taking it to my job.
ah, that's right. That's right. So we just absolutely want to get the word out.
Yes, I have taken
Wherever your
my
comfort, and that's what you're saying. Start with
Mhm.
your comfort level, and the more comfortable you get, the more that circle is going to grow and build.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me today.
Thank you, and thank you for all you're doing for resolving. I know we're going to meet on our calls.
Well, thank you. My goodness, it's like mutual admiration.
I'm excited about it. May 18th, for anyone that's out there that's signing Advocacy Day. The Advocacy Day is May 18th. Sign up. The more, the better. The more of an impact we can make, we will enforce change, hopefully from the bottom up. It may not be today, but trust that your labor is not in. It goes a long way. So please, please, please rally up behind your state
Yeah,
capital.
it's the most incredible feeling to really
Yeah,
believe that, you're using your voice and you're creating change. So it's
yeah,
a fabulous organization.
it
I
is.
I just love it.
They
Yeah.
supported me, and I feel like they have a lot to give, and I was able to tap into it. So anybody out there looking for information, Solve's website,
So
fantastic.
much to tap into.
So much to tap into, and if you have the bandwidth to also, I'm a state captain this year, well, co-captain for North Carolina. So anybody wants to know more about it, out to me, and
There
we'll
you
get
go.
our sign.
What state are you a captain for?
North Carolina.
Okay, very good. I am once again a reservist, which means they call me when they need me. Whatever they decide, that's it. All these last minute things. But it's
Right,
a wonderful opportunity to use your voice. And if you're not ready to use your voice, just to stand up and provide that support and that solidarity. Because
right.
numbers do count.
Yes,
They
they.
do. Yeah, yeah. So thank you. And thank you for mentioning Resolve.
Thank you, and thank you, everybody.
Bye bye.